Hi, I'm Michael Kourosh. I live in Santa Barbara, California, one of the most beautiful places on earth. My design center is where people come to reimagine their homes and spaces. I work with the best designers, clients with broad tastes, and experts who navigate the fascinating world of design. I'm always excited to learn something new, and I never say no to a challenge. This is Design Santa Barbara. Welcome to Design Santa Barbara. I'm Michael Kourosh, and today we are in Santa Barbara Design Center, where I'm excited to be sharing with you an episode dedicated to several fascinating antiquities from our collection. Please join us. Our first antiquity is this incredible rug that was gifted to the 4th Qajar king of Persia in the 19th century. Nasser ad-Din Shah Qajar was the crowned Shah of Persia when he was just 17 years old in 1848. This was a tumultuous time for the region. The early years of his reign were marred by civil conflict and brief wars with Russia and Great Britain. Despite conflicts with Western nations, Nasser ad-Din was the first modern Persian monarch to visit Europe, traveling to the continent 3 times, where he marveled at the advances in technology. His personal travel diaries were eventually published, marking the first time a Shah ever released a memoir. During his visit to the United Kingdom in 1873, Nasser ad-Din Shah was appointed by Queen Victoria a Knight of the Order of the Garter, the highest English order of chivalry. He was the first Persian monarch to be so honored. This sketch represents the Shah sitting with English and Russian royalty during a concert at the Royal Albert Hall. Upon returning to Persia, the Shah oversaw massive reforms to the region, including the opening of the first higher learning centers, establishing the region's first newspaper, introducing telegraphs, starting postal service, and building roads. Nasser ad-Din Shah was also a passionate painter, poet, and took an interest in the relatively new art of photography. Much of his creative works still exist to this day. Though his reforms greatly changed the region, political strife continued, and the Shah had difficulty consolidating his power. In 1896, at the age of 64, Nasser ad-Din Shah Qajar was assassinated. His son assumed the title of Shah and continued his father's reforms, establishing the Constitution of Persia in 1906. This amazing rug is a TRICLINIUM rug. TRICLINIUM rugs are made of 4 compartmented rugs that they were originally in a room that was called audience room. So they were made of 2 long runners, a centerpiece, and one that used to go diagonal to the rest of it. That's where the people, not the ordinary people obviously, the court and the king used to sit. The king used to sit in the top, and the people that they were guests, they used to sit each side of the carpet. The main carpet had a low table that people used to feast on. There used to be dancers coming in and going. The original of this is Roman, actually. So Roman emperors used to have parties that they used to have all their favorite people from the court and aristocracy around this table, and they used to lean back and they used to get served from the bottom of this table, and everybody else was drinking and having fabulous food and a good time. So that tradition continued, and the kings made this type of rugs for their own audience rooms. This particular one, later on they figured, why do we have 4 pieces? We can sew them all together and we make it exact size of the room, and hence they got created. There's very few of them around, and this is the only one in the world in existence. So again, has a nice poetry in the bottom. It was gifted to Nasser ad-Din Shah Qajar at 1875 for his 44th birthday. It is woven in Kurdistan, has a Kurdish weave. It is a town called Sanandaj nowadays. The old times they used to call it Sene, and they wove this. So how do we know? It says in the bottom that he actually names the king, names the birthday, and names the date that was woven. Also in the borders, every little white border is full of writings that says be blessed. Like you say happy birthday, in Persian they call Mubarakbad. And that is written all around the rug. Very important piece. There's no second one around. And I usually put prices on all of this antiquities. This particular one is priceless because how do you want to compare it to anything else? Other than that, the colors are very royal. They have this gold color that they used to get from saffron. They have this burnt sienna that comes from madder. You have the brown that actually is a natural color. The white is again also natural. The green is a hard color to make, and there's a lot of it in this rug. They mix indigo and weld, or indigo and saffron, to get that green. Green as nature is, there is no natural dye that is green. So what they do is they have to mix the two dyes, which is indigo blue, and weld, which is yellow, or saffron that's yellow, combined becomes green. It is also in a mint condition. That is one other thing. 1875, and we have 2021 now, and this rug is over 146 years old and is in mint condition. So that must have been an important room that people took care of it. The owners from back then, they took care of it very carefully, and God knows if this rug could tell stories, what would it have been? I mean, you could make movies out of it for sure. So it is in a very important palace. The king had it, and probably he gifted it to some dignitary or foreign ambassador, and that's why it's ended up in Santa Barbara. Beautiful piece, one of a kind. We're gonna have it on display in our store. Come and see it. We have it for a limited time on display, and I'll gladly explain to you a little more about it when you're here. Our next antiquity is this stunning trunk. But first, let's learn how trunks have been vital in people's life over the centuries. The concept of the travel trunk dates back thousands of years in places such as China. Trunks can serve as an easy way to move clothing, food, or personal treasures while traveling, or storing objects of value at home. Many early trunks were heavily fortified to protect valuables. In Western cultures, the travel trunk, as we know it, first became popular in the 18th century. As people began to travel for leisure, trunks became synonymous with adventure. It was a common tradition to apply picturesque images of the places people had traveled to on the outside of your trunk. Travel trunks eventually went out of favor as the modern suitcase gained popularity, but trunks still hold high regard in interior design. Many can be seen in houses today. Some still use the traditional travel trunk though, with high-end designer trunk sets selling for as much as $250,000. Today we have this stunning 19th century Zanzibar trunk. So most likely actually is made in Oman, and there is a very close geographic distance between Oman and Zanzibar, and the reason is because most of these were made for the Arabian Peninsula to use, and they have heavily influenced by Moorish style, and they call them a Zanzibar chest, and they're a dowry piece, and the dowry pieces back then meant the valuable of the bride went to the groom's house, and that was dowry paid. Back then they used to put stuff together to give to the bride to take to the husband's home, and that was like a goodwill, and this is part of that. It is very ornate, has a lot of handicraft in it. The four sides is decorated, but the back is not. So because it used to go against the wall or in front of the bed. And from inside is very plainly decorated, as we can see. They were made up to even 1950s, but the old ones are rare to come by because they just disintegrated and people put them away. It's made of Middle Eastern hardwood, most likely olive. Has beautiful, stunning look into it. Nowadays, the old ones that they are 70, 80 years old sell between $1,000 to $2,000. This particular one, I think, is worth at least $4,000 to $5,000. Anyway, beautiful piece. Come and see it in the store. When we come back, we will have 2 more incredible antiquities. Stay tuned. There is more Design Santa Barbara after the break. It's been an interesting time for all of us. It was difficult to be separated from the world, but I was incredibly lucky to be able to spend much time with my family. Being home for so long showed us just how important our living spaces are and why proper design is essential. If you are ready to redefine your living space, come in and see me. It would be my honor to help you. We are Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive Street, and we are ready. This week on Michael's Minute, we're gonna be talking about my favorite subject, rugs. Every designer will tell you to start from the rug up. It's the key. We have personally curated a rug collection of thousands, and with over 100 combined years of design experience, we can help you find the perfect rug for your space. And if you absolutely have to look online, go to santabarbaradc.com or rugsamor.com, find the perfect rug, then come in here and see it in person. I will gladly show it to you myself. And with all our rugs 50% off, our prices can't be beat. Come into 410 Olive Street and let us help you find your rug. Today on Design FYI, we're gonna talk about what not to buy when you're going shopping for rugs. Most big outlets or national chains, they sell nowadays hand-tufted rugs. This sounds like it's hand knotted, it's done by hand, but actually they are not. It's called hand-tufted and is actually a gun that rolls the wool around the warp, and they are not good rugs at all. So this is a sample we're having here for you to see. Anything that has a backing like this, flip your rugs over at home, see if it has a backing, is absolutely not good. So what it does is it hides what they did below this thing, which is a latex glue, which actually is toxin. And if you have got any rugs over the net, I hate to say it, over the net, because it's easy to sell and they're inexpensive, you buy these things over the internet. So when it comes to your house, they smell. Have you noticed that? They smell more like a gasoline or more like a diesel because they don't let the latex cure. And the latex that glues this wool to this backing smells a lot. On top of that, they shed quite a lot. The wool is cheap because they need to be inexpensive, and they shed. I would not recommend you to get anything, again, that has a backing and is glued, because it comes apart very easily. It is temporary. It is not a green product because they wear very quickly, end up in the fill, and just basically as a landfill junk we are adding to our planet. The things I would recommend you to get, unlike these things that have backing, is the rugs that they have nuts to them. So as what to buy, I highly recommend you to get some rugs that they are hand knotted. And how you can see, flip it to the back, and you can see the knots are done individually, and each one is slightly different than the next one because they're done by hand, and the intensity of the wool and the pull they have, the weaver, makes them look different. Also, the sides are done by hand. That you can see very easily. If you want to buy a real rug, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center and I can gladly help you. Thank you for joining us on Design FYI, Santa Barbara Design Center, 410 Olive. My grandfather taught me about the beauty of the rugs. Each one tells a story. Story about the person who wove it, the person who bought it, the person who inherits it, the person who treasures it. It's amazing how simply looking at an object can bring you back to a different place and time, or remind you of someone you love. At Santa Barbara Design Center, we want to help you find the rug that will travel through time with your family for generations to come. Visit us at 410 Olive Street and find your treasure today. Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. This week we are learning about incredible antiquities from around the world. Here we are in front of these magnificent Mughal gates. So these were made during the Mughal period and they're very exquisite and not too many of them are in this scale. The Mughal Empire, encompassing much of modern-day India, existed from 1526 to 1857. Although founded through military conflict, the Mughal Empire revolutionized the region with its approach to government administration. The initial tax codes set up by the monarchy allowed for economic expansion and a certain level of upward mobility for the middle class. A uniform silver currency created robust trade and government stability. This was also an incredible time for the arts. Mughal art flourished under royal patronage, resulting in painting, poetry, textile creation, and as we are about to see with these gates, architecture. Several Mughal sites are today protected as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including Fort Agra and the Taj Mahal. Although it lasted nearly 3 centuries, the Mughal Empire eventually fell due to European expansion and eventually British occupation. So this was made for the outside gates of a summer garden that the Mughal aristocracy and emperors used to have outside Yamuna River, outside Delhi, and you know where Taj Mahal is, that's a river that runs next to it. They were living like any king, but even better because they had all the wealth in the world and they were actually cultured and they were enjoying life. So this particular one is made of teak. That's why it's very sturdy and has lasted all this, and it's for outdoors. Has nice beautiful carvings on it, very nice detail. And if you look carefully at it, it is one ginormous gate and one little one. So this was made originally for the emperor and entourage to come in, and they used to go around. They didn't have Rolls Royces back then, so they had horses. So they used to open the double door, and as you can see, a man on a horse could go through it. And they didn't want to get out of it to go through the gate, so they just run through it. But then during day-to-day, some servants came and they need to deliver food or whatever. They opened the small gate. And this still has the original hardware, which if you look carefully, every one of them is done by hand meticulously and is old. Look at the size of these nails. I mean, they are impossible to do nowadays because it's just too much labor. And if you look at the hardware, it's still original hanging at it. It's a beautiful cultural piece, and I wish I have a garden and I can put this one in it, but anyway, it's a beautiful piece and it will add to any room or any garden, and obviously it was made for outdoors, and it is at our entrance. Come and look at it in the design center. Our final antiquity is this fine example of the 11th century silk textile. A textile is defined as a flexible material made by creating an interlocking network of yarns or threads, which are produced by spinning raw fibers. It is believed that the earliest human-made textiles, most likely of animal hide, date back approximately 70,000 years. The discovery of dyed flax fibers in a cave in the Republic of Georgia, dated to 34,000 BC, suggests that the textile-like materials were made as early as the Paleolithic era. The methods for making textile range from handmade to machine manufactured. The traditions are passed from generation to generation. In more recent years, textile production has exploded thanks to modern advancements. Well-made textiles are incredibly durable and can stand the test of time. It's amazing to think that this piece that I hold in my hand is nearly 1,000 years old. Think about what has happened since this piece was created. the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, Shakespeare, the American and French revolutions, the invention of travel by railroad, steamship, and airplane, world wars and peace, advancements in art, science, and technology. Holding something this old in your hand can help you feel the weight of history. So here is an 11th, 12th century Seljuk Lampas silk fragment. So this used to be part of a clothing of a nobleman, or actually the king of the Seljuks, and these are the Oghuz Turks that they actually eventually moved westward, and they went to today's Turkey, and they became Ottomans, and they start Turkish speaking people, and these are the original. They used to live in the north steppes of today's Afghanistan, south of Siberia. So these people moved westwards and to today's Turkey, and then Caucasus Mountains first, through Caucasus Mountains to Turkey, and they established the Turkish language, and they become Ottomans and today's Turkish Republic. This particular one is incredibly fine, and what I say is usually when you have a silk thread is twisted between like 4 to 10 strands of silk, and then that becomes one thread. This is a single strand silk and is just incredibly hard to make. Probably was part of a clothing of the king itself, because I have never seen such delicacy in weave. The colors are indication of the court. They're always gold, shiny, and the reason they are shiny and gold color because of the opulence they were going to show to the average people, and the nicer they were dressed, the bigger jewelry they had. Obviously, they had a bigger influence on the people they meet on the street. So that said, it is a very rare piece, and again, I would value it in today's fair market between $10,000 to $20,000. I hope you have enjoyed this look into some treasures from our collection. I invite you to come into Santa Barbara Design Center and learn more about them in person. How many times in the last year have you said to yourself, I really need a new sofa? Spending so much time at home lately, you deserve the most comfortable furniture. At Santa Barbara Design Center's massive showroom, we have numerous selections of sofas and sectionals that you can take home today. Or we can custom build your dream sofa. We make the most comfortable and stylish sofas and sectionals in the industry today. Just ask the top designers in Santa Barbara. They use our sofas and sectionals in their projects because they know clients are beyond satisfied with the results. For a decision as important as this, don't go online or buy from a catalog photo. Come into 410 Olive Street and let our experienced team help you find the perfect fit for your home. Trust me, you want to sit on it before you buy. Today I would like to talk to you about rugs. 3 important things to remember when you are buying a rug. First is the size. Size is very important, and this is what you have to do your study. So if it's for a living room, I recommend to have the front legs of all the furniture to sit on the certain rug you're buying. So go measure it. Make sure you have at least a foot extended beyond the front legs. If you can afford it, get a rug that encompasses all the furniture to be sitting on it. So usually for a living room, you're talking an 8x10, 9x12, a bigger living room, 10x14, and if you want something to sit on it, 12x15 or 12x18. Second, there is a style. it is very important that the style you pick matches the house you have. Check the room. Is it a traditional house? Is it a modern house? Is it a transitional house? You pick the style matching your house and your living style. Lastly, and one of the most important steps, is the type of rug you're gonna buy. I highly recommend you to do your study and see what type of rug is good for your situation. Most rugs I recommend are hand knotted. So these are the type of rugs that they're done by hand. They're mostly natural fibers. They don't have any chemicals. They don't have any machines involved making it. They're hand knotted and they get more valuable over the time, and they're very durable and long lasting. These are 3 things to remember when you're buying a rug. Thank you for joining us. Today we are in Montecito, California. Once again, we are having my awesome friend, Lisa Wilson Goldmoon, on our show. And I have a question for you. So after all this pandemic and the year we went through, what do you think about the real estate market that we are in? So hot and so unbelievably pricey.
It has really broken all records and expectations, certainly. I think when the pandemic hit, people needed to be someplace that felt safe. And certainly we live in a town and in a county that prides itself on being a sleepy little lovely place to live. So many people from the urban areas were fortunate enough to be able to have a second place here, and we saw that happening so often. And again, not to drop names, but I was talking to a real estate agent the other day who said she was talking to Ellen DeGeneres, one of our dear sweet neighbors here in Montecito, who said, and I'm paraphrasing, Montecito's always been great. That's why I've always had homes here. That's why I love it here. Everybody else is just discovering that now. I think that the market will probably slow down. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can't imagine it can continue at this pace. But I do think that our sleepy little town might have been a bit more discovered, and certainly Santa Barbara will be the happier for it.
Well, I love it. This is paradise, it's heaven. I don't know. It just,
we're so
any
lucky.
other place better than this. We are very fortunate. Well, thank you very much again.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you.